Logan Paul, Mr. Beast, and KSI's new Lunchable dupe could actually be dangerous for your kid.
I'm back, as well, FITTI, and today we're going to be taking a look at these TikTok videos. If you guys like the video, remember, let's try to get to 1,000 likes this video. If you like the chain, check the link down in the description. And the scariest part about this video, it says that 75% of you guys are not subscribed. Make sure to subscribe. We're going to be taking a look at way more than just TikToks on this channel, so subscribe.
Oh, here we go. Washington has officially activated the National Guard after receiving new information and concerns regarding potential violence related to the election. Now, the governor hasn't disclosed how many troops were being activated, but said that they would be on standby from November the 4th to the 7th. And he said that based on general and specific information, I want to ensure that we are fully prepared to respond.
National Guard for the election. I feel like something big might happen this election. I'm not gonna lie. Like, hopefully it's not like another situation where they raid like somewhere, but like something crazy might happen.
Did you know the Great Sphinx has a tail? And that it also may have been built by the civilization of Atlantis thousands of years earlier than mainstream history suggests for a very specific purpose. Welcome to Phil's Pixel. According to this theory, the Sphinx was not made by the ancient Egyptians. We're told it was built about 4,500 years ago, around 2,500 BC, but many believe it was constructed by a civilization that far predates anything we know. The Sphinx itself doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't even exist. For one, the ancient Egyptians were obsessed with recording everything they did. Yet, just like the pyramids, despite there being hieroglyphs that go back 5,000 years and more, not a single one of them mentions the Sphinx at all. One mainstream theory suggests the Sphinx was built as a sort of guardian of the pyramids to protect the pharaoh's treasures, but over time lost its significance, and the Egyptians just forgot to mention it in any of their texts. Like anywhere, no records of when it was built, for what purpose, or why its head is so small. Just look at it. The most immediate observation of the Sphinx is how tiny its head is compared to the rest of its body. It doesn't even remotely fit proportionally with its enormous body and just looks awkward, like it was done by accident. As you may know, ancient Egyptians were masters of proportion with their art, carvings, and statues. In fact, they are quite literally world famous for it. Statues they carved like these are notoriously known for being scarily precise, almost like they were machine made. You're telling me the guys who precisely calculated all four edges of a 146-meter high pyramid to meet perfectly at the top at the same time, a marvel of engineering even by today's standards, made the mistake of getting the head too small on a monument as important as the Sphinx, said to be the face of Khafre, the successor of Khufu, yet many agree it does not look like any other depictions of Khafre across ancient Egypt. As a matter of fact, it appears as if the Sphinx once had a much larger head, thought to have originally had the head of a dog or perhaps a lion with a full mane, and by the time the ancient Egyptians discovered it, they gave it a facelift, making it look more human and inadvertently ruining the proportions in the process. Because whoever did build the Sphinx dug it directly into the limestone bedrock beneath it, carving and hollowing out an entire enclosure around it. The blocks that were cut out of this bedrock were used to build the Temple of the Sphinx right in front of it, which have mostly deteriorated over time. Now, this right here, this is the part that sealed the deal, all but confirming we've gotten the age of the Sphinx wrong all these years, even among skeptics. With initially doubtful professional geologists like Robert Schoch traveling to Egypt with the intention of proving these fringe theories wrong. Yet, upon seeing it up close for the first time from the perspective of a geologist rather than an archaeologist, he realizes it is scientifically accurate to suggest the Sphinx is far older than we claim, because water erosion patterns around the enclosure indicate that heavy weathering by either strong or prolonged streams of water have occurred here. The Sphinx water erosion hypothesis. He and many others concluded that patterns like these definitely could not have been weathered by natural wind and sand, and also confirmed that these could not have been as a result of the Nile River flooding, leading to one of two choices: either consistent rainfall over thousands of years or super intense flash flooding. Climate data confirms this part of Egypt saw very little rainfall over the past 5,000 years, leaving us only with option 2, powerful floods. And the last era that fits the criteria that aligns with the rock patterns here was around 9600 BC, suggesting the Sphinx to be closer to 11,600 years old, conveniently lined up with the time of the Younger Dryas. And around 12,000 years ago, the Sphinx would have been facing in the direction of the constellation of Leo at the time. A lion, leading us back to the idea that the Sphinx may have originally been a lion monument with a much larger head facing the constellation that it represented, only to get washed away and buried for thousands of years, get rediscovered by the ancient Egyptians, and then forgotten again, until the 1800s, around which time the top of its head became visible from shifting sands. Then in the 1920s, the first official excavation started, finishing in 1936 for the very first time in a long time, from which many involved with the project agreed the depth that it was buried at did not match anything else in the area. There's no way the Sphinx could have been that deep underground by accident, leading them to strongly believe it was intentionally buried. And why? Because it may have been built as a safekeeper of knowledge for the legendary Atlantean Hall of Records that still exists hidden beneath it to this day. We'll dive into that one next time, and reminder, this is just a theory. For entertainment purposes only, may or may not be true, so shut the fuck up.
I feel like a lot of things that we think we know, we really don't know, so that could be true, but it's just a theory.
Some facts you didn't know, part 237. The first use of a slow motion replay in television was during the gruesome boxing match between Benny Paret and Emil Griffith. Benny never recovered from the fight and died 10 days later due to brain hemorrhaging. Aga Muhammad Khan was an 18th century Persian king who ordered the execution of 2 servants for being too loud. He decided to postpone their execution to avoid doing it on a holy day. He let them return to their duties and they killed him that very same night. Alfred Lowenstein was the 3rd richest person in the world in the 1920s. This was due to his investments in electric power and artificial silks. While on a trip to Brussels on his private aircraft in 1928, he went to the rear of the plane to use the bathroom but never returned. When his secretary went looking for him, they discovered that the bathroom was empty but the entrance door to the plane was flapping open. His body was discovered about a week later and an autopsy revealed he had a partial fracture in his skull and several broken bones. They concluded that he was still alive when he hit the water in the English Channel. A test was done on his aircraft and it was found that it was impossible for someone to accidentally fall out of the door. Although many theories exist, what actually happened to him still remains a mystery to this day.
If you believe in God, stay away from the truth.
Check your candy for Razorbacks.
Associate with it and stay away. Share this everywhere and spread awareness.
Most disturbing Halloween facts. So you all remember when you were kids and you went trick-or-treating and your parents would try to check your candy for razor blades, and we all kind of just thought it was a myth. But really, it is true. In Ohio, one Halloween night, a child was sorting through their Halloween candy when they cut their finger on a blade in the candy bag. They went to the hospital for stitches and no one else was injured. The blade was hidden inside of the wrapper of a candy bar. The same night in Waterbury, Connecticut, police arrested a man after razor blades were found in the bottom of 2 trick-or-treater candy bags.
Putting razor blades in candies for kids is just a little bit weird in my opinion. It's actually a lot of bit weird. I wonder why people would do something like that.
This is the scary truth behind Halloween. Okay, so everybody knows how on Halloween, everybody dresses up in a costume. But the original Halloween costumes were a lot creepier. When Halloween first started, people would wear animal heads and skin. They did this because they hoped that the costumes would make wandering spirits think that they are spirits also, and then let them free. This is actually pretty creepy, and I wonder what happened to make them think like this. Thank God it's not like that anymore.
Never stick your tongue out for 10 minutes. Curious facts you didn't know. Each time you take a step, you're using about 200 different muscles. In the United Kingdom, a pregnant woman can pee anywhere she wants, including in a policeman's helmet. Every year, goats cause more deaths than sharks. However, sharks get much more attention in the media. You would never know that a child has 98 more bones than an adult. Someone you spoke to today is speaking ill of you behind your back. It's the first person who appears when you press the green icon below. Swipe everything to the right and go to the More option. There you will find the person. The inventor of the light bulb, Thomas Edison, created it because he was afraid of the dark. Ants have 2 stomachs, one to store food for themselves and another to store food for other ants. The newest country in the world is South Sudan, which was declared in 2011. So, you are older than a country. It has been scientifically proven that being alone for a long time is as bad for your health as smoking 35 cigarettes a day. About 30 million people have the same last name as you. What's your last name? See in the comments who else shares it with you.
Yo, that'd be like a cool little game. Like, drop your last name in the comment and see if anyone else has the same last name as you. That'd be crazy. But what I'm trying to figure out is, like, why would pregnant women specifically pee in a police officer's helmet? Like, why the helmet?
If a drop of water entered your heart, it would stop functioning completely. Curious facts you didn't know. Believe it or not, in a country called Finland, it is illegal to kill mosquitoes. And if you do so, you can be sentenced to up to 3 years in prison. When you find yourself thinking too much about a person, it's because that person is also thinking about you. A 24-year-old man set a world record for keeping his eyes open without blinking for 1 hour and 13 minutes. There are more people dead at the bottom of the sea than in the largest cemetery in the world. Did you know that a baby has 206 more bones than adults?
If you're left-brained, you'll see 2 people hugging, but if you're right-brained, you'll see a dinosaur. So which do you see in the photo above?
What did y'all see? I saw a dog. I didn't even see a dinosaur or two people hugging. I saw a dog. So I guess I'm like center brained or something.
It's that time of the year, so let's look at the ancient origins of Halloween. The origins of Halloween go back thousands of years to the ancient Celtic pagans. They celebrated a festival called Samhain, meaning end of summer. It basically marked the end of harvest and the beginning of the darker times of the year, so the colder times. They believed that on Samhain, the boundaries between the world of the living and the world of the dead become blurred. And so the return of the undead to our world is celebrated with fire. The crops were burnt and druids would light a big bonfire. The druids were basically Celtic pagan priests, and it's believed that on Samhain they could predict the future.
This is a scary story about Halloween candy. On Halloween night, there was a woman giving out candy all night. As it grew darker and darker, things began to calm down. When it seemed like nobody else was going to be coming, the woman went inside and called it a night. She was just about to turn off the porch light when somebody knocked on the door. She thought it was too late for children to still be out, but she grabbed a handful of candy and opened the door. There were 2 children standing on the porch, but they weren't wearing any costumes. They were the strangest children she had ever seen. Their skin was waxy and ghostly white, and their eyes were completely black, and their teeth were too big to fit in their mouth. The confused woman then said, "What are you guys supposed to be, monsters?" "No," said the children. "Tonight we are dressed as humans." A chill ran down the woman's spine as she shut the door. The children began to bang on the door and scream. The woman then looked through the peephole, but the children were gone, and the road was completely empty. The woman moved houses and never took part in Halloween ever again.
The craziest Halloween houses you've ever seen. Someone turned their house into a castle and it comes with a dragon. This person made a UFO crash site in their front yard. You have to love Halloween to put that much effort into it. This guy built a huge scarecrow, and look how small he is compared to it. That's gigantic. Someone put a skeleton on the road and made it look like it's coming out of the ground. Before I show you the best one, I just found a way to prank your friends by replacing their texts with whatever you want. If you want to prank your friends, press here on my profile, then press change your friends' text messages. And finally, I really don't like spiders, but this was very well done.
If you break one of Sam's rules this Halloween, don't say I didn't warn you. Sam is the spirit of Halloween and appears in a new town every single year. He is known to have 4 rules of Halloween. Always give out candy, wear a costume, never blow out a jack-o'-lantern, and number 4, check your candy. Sam goes to different towns to ensure that Halloween traditions are continued and punishing those who ignore it. Sam is very much like a child, always getting in trouble and loves chocolate. Sounds like me. Now remember, as long as you respect Halloween, you should not get a visit from Sam.
The scariest urban legends around the world. Russia. Baba Yaga. Serbia. Serbian dancer. Japan. Tick tick. Arizona. Skinwalker. West Virginia. Mothman. Maryland. Goatman.
Is it just me or Halloween's dying? Think about it, when we were kids, bro, everyone was in the spirit, man. Everyone would decorate their house, everyone would carve pumpkins, and I don't know, I feel like nowadays, I don't even see people with pumpkins outside, bro. I find it sad, man, because our community of kids is growing by the day, and if you really think about it, we should be more in the spirit than ever. I swear I can't be the only one that feels that way, bro. We all have to be engaged as a community, bro. So if you're the only one that hasn't dressed up for Halloween, or at least did something for Halloween, Come on, man.
Nah, he's right. Like, I feel like a lot of times nowadays people don't really do anything crazy for Halloween. Like, it kind of like died down. But nowadays, realistically, all I see is just girls dressing like crazy. Like, they're dressing I'm like, bro, this is Halloween. You're supposed to be scary. Like, why are you dressed like that? I mean, you know what I'm saying? You do what you want, but it's just like...
Here are some Halloween facts that you've never heard before. 1 in 4 adults in the United States pretend not to be home when trick-or-treaters knock on their door. Every 19 years, there's a full moon on Halloween. The next one will be in 2039, which means yes, the last one was in 2020. The largest pumpkin ever was bred in a garden in Switzerland. It weighed 950 kilograms or more than 2,000 pounds, which is the weight of a small car. The world's longest haunted house is the Haunted Cave in Lewisburg, Ohio, at 3,564 feet long and 80 feet underground. Hocus Pocus was initially titled Halloween House and was more of a horror than a comedy. Tootsie Rolls were given to soldiers in battle during the Korean War because they provided much needed energy and satisfied hunger, especially when other rations were frozen solid due to the extreme sub-zero temperatures. They also used Tootsie Rolls to plug bullet holes in vehicles and fix leaking radiators by molding the warm candy into patches that would refreeze and hold. The Beverly Hills City Council unanimously banned the use of shaving cream, silly string, and hair removal products for people under the age of 21 for 24 hours every year on Halloween. Why would they want to do that? What can you do with that stuff? Samhain phobia is what the fear of Halloween is officially called. Terry Houdini died from a ruptured appendix on Halloween night in 1926. Candy corn was originally called chicken feed, and the reason for this is because when it first appeared around the late 1800s, that just happened to be a time when over half of America's workforce were farmers. Because of this, candies were often made into agricultural shapes such as chicken feed, which we now think of as corn shaped. We changed it to candy corn after World War I when corn became viewed as food people would actually eat. Keene, New Hampshire holds the record for most lit jack-o'-lanterns by lighting over 30,000 pumpkins. They broke that record in 2013 and ever since have broken it again 8 more times. The record for fastest pumpkin carving is 16.47 seconds. In order to qualify, the pumpkin had to have a nose, eyes, mouth, and ears. The first jack-o'-lantern in history was actually made of turnip. Sugar rationing during World War II paused trick-or-treating, causing an all-out boom from candy companies once the war was over, which is really what created the tradition of using candy for trick-or-treating every single year like we do today. Scottish women used to hang wet sheets in front of a fire to see their future husbands on Halloween. Mamie Eisenhower was the first lady to decorate the White House for Halloween in 1958. Illinois produces the most pumpkins every year in the United States. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups were the most popular candy in 2023, with 29% of Americans choosing it as their favorite. However, in 2024, M&M's overtook Reese's Peanut Butter Cups as the top favorite candy. Halloween is older than Christianity itself. Americans are spending an average of $100.45 on Halloween, with $29.51 of that on candy. Also, Americans will spend over $3 billion on Halloween candy this year, as well as last year and next year, with over $10 billion spent on Halloween alone with costumes and decorations and everything else. Bobbing for apples also started with fortune telling, specifically predicting whom a woman would marry. In one version of Bobbing for Apples, girls would discreetly mark apples before placing them in the water, and when their male peers would try to catch the fruit, the apple they got would determine their future mate. Bobbing for apples is apparently one of the longest on-running traditions from Halloween, and I don't think I've done it in over 20 years. Maybe we should do it again.
I've never done bobbing apples. I didn't even know that was a thing.
A cop passed away after a criminal spits in her face, then the police reveal the shocking cause. Reina was an extremely responsible police officer who worked in Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. Together, Reina and her partner, Officer Michael, were almost always together wherever they went. One day while on the job, Reina heard a man screaming on the street corner and decided to approach him. Upon approaching the man, he became extremely violent, and after he was arrested, he spit in Reina's face. face. Raina kept calm and continued working every single day until one day she became too weak and passed out on the floor. She was immediately rushed to the hospital but unfortunately passed away. Doctors began running tests to see what could have caused her sudden passing, and what they found left them absolutely shocked. Hit the plus for part 2.
Trick-or-treating started in Scotland and Ireland in the 1600s, and it was originally called guising. The purpose was for a kid to go door to door and perform a trick or an act in return for a treat. This tradition lasted until the 1900s. This is when the tradition began to spread and made its way to North America, where it adopted the term trick-or-treating. And over time, it became less about doing tricks at the door and more about saying trick-or-treat.
Understand that Halloween is based on pagan origins, right? So we look at that and some people say, well, it's a pagan holiday, so why would you celebrate Halloween? If you celebrate it, you're worshiping things like that. Well, first thing I want to celebrate is, man, Martin Luther nailed the 95 Theses to the church. Like, that's such a cool part of church history. Like, that's a cool thing to look at. Now, that's not necessarily a part of Halloween. It's like, man, on October 31st, you also have that has occurred. But when it comes to Halloween, my first question is, what are you dressing up as, and what are you celebrating? There are probably people that still celebrate it like a pagan holiday. Satanism is real. There are pagans that worship pagan religions. So it's like, man, what are you doing? What's your heart posture? Is it like, oh, is the little 8-year-old boy that dresses up as Spider-Man that goes and gets Kit Kats and candy corn? Like, is that kid worshiping a pagan holiday? In my eyes, I'm like, man, that kid probably can't even spell pagan. He can't spell paganism. Like, what's that kid doing? His heart's so pure. He's probably dressing up as his favorite superhero, and he's going to get some Hershey chocolate kisses. And we're so worried about people dressing up as Spider-Man and Superman more than we are unrepentant sin, and more than we are like people knowing Jesus. Like, yes, do I think people still celebrate Halloween in a very negative way and worship pagan gods? Absolutely. But I definitely think there are still a lot of people that just put out candy because it's tradition, and they walk around in costumes and things like that, and that are harmless.
Happy Halloween. Here are some horror movie hot takes that get progressively hotter. For example, the Rob Zombie Halloween movies, I'm not like their biggest defender, but they're much better than what everyone says. In fact, I'll go as far as to say they are better than these two movies. I love both, but the twist in Orphan is better than the twist in Saw. That is all I'm going to say. When it comes to remakes, I really love the original Ring, but I think the American remake is slightly better. This year's Speaking of Evil is a good remake. The original is better. Rapid fire best and worst of movies and franchises. In Final Destination, the best is the second, and the worst is the fourth one. For Scream, the best is the first one, but the worst, I'm going to say Scream 5. For Saw, the best is the second one, and the worst is Jigsaw. I love both Hereditary and Midsommar, but I have to live my truth. I think I'm more of a Midsommar guy. For movies where I just don't understand the hype, As Above, So Below, I've tried so many times, but I'm really glad people love it. Also, The Black Phone, kind of the epitome of average. The two best horror movies so far this year are The First Omen and Longlegs. Longlegs being the one that's probably the more divisive pick. If I were to do a Mount Rushmore of the best horror villains introduced in the 21st century, it would go like this: Jigsaw or Billy the Puppet and Art the Clown. Art the Clown, I think, has earned his spot. Then I would go Samara from The Ring, and I think Valak from The Conjuring. Now, if I were to expand that and go to the best horror villains of all time, that list is different. Michael and Freddy make the list not really that crazy. But in third and fourth, I would go Chucky and the Xenomorph. I know, but again, live your truth. And then out of all the horror movies that come out in like the last 20 years, the most disturbing one isn't Terrifier 3 or Sinister. The answer is actually Tusk. It's the only movie that's made me want to reach into my brain, take out the memory of me watching it, and never think about it ever again.
That's the thing about movies nowadays, though. Do you really want to watch a movie that makes you want to do that, though? Like, do you really want to sit there and be like, you know, I wish I never watched that movie? You know what I'm saying? Like, nowadays, I feel like the horror genre, people try to get that in between where you're like, oh, it's a good movie, but it wasn't too crazy where it's like, I want to delete it from my brain and never watch it again, you know?
In fact, Halloween traces its roots back more than 2,000 years to the Celtic festival of Samhain, which ended on November 1st and marked the start of their new year. The Celts believed that on the night of October 31st, the separation between the world of the living and the dead was thinnest and would allow the spirits of the dead to walk among them. So they would leave offerings and light bonfires for the spirits, and also dress up, hoping the dead spirits wouldn't recognize them. In the 7th century, when the Catholic Church began converting pagan holidays into Catholic ones, they changed November 1st into All Saints' Day, but the night before still had bonfires and costumes under its new name, All Hallows' Eve. In 16th century England, people would go door to door on All Saints' Day and offer to pray for the homeowner's dead loved ones in exchange for food, cakes, or money. In Scotland and Ireland, children would dress up in costumes and go door to door and sing or recite poetry in exchange for treats. As people immigrated to the US, they brought Hallows' Eve with them, but Halloween didn't really take off until after the Second World War, and the commercialism boom of the 1950s turned it into what it is today.
Gruesome facts you didn't know, part 242. In 2016, this man in China paid a hitman 70,000 yuan to kill him. He then changed his mind after being stabbed in the stomach over a dozen times. The man was confined to a wheelchair following a car accident and became depressed, wanting to end his life. In August of 2022, Rebecca Vance, her 13-year-old son, and her sister Christine ventured into the Colorado wilderness wanting to live off the grid. With little to no preparation, amateur survival skills, and simply watching a few YouTube videos, the trio was never seen again. It wasn't until July of this year that a hiker stumbled across their mummified bodies at their campsite. The coroner believes they didn't even make it through the winter. In 2009, James Washington was serving a 15-year prison sentence in Tennessee when he suffered a heart attack. Believing he was on his deathbed, he confessed to a guard that he had beaten a woman to death. He survived, and the cold case of Joyce Goodner was reopened following his confession. When he recovered, he tried to take his confession back. He received an additional 51 years behind bars.
How the hell is this even real? It may not be news for you, but it is for me, so I'm talking about it. 24 years ago, The Simpsons dropped an episode where Lisa is the first female president of the United States, and she's not only wearing a purple suit, but also pearls. Look familiar? And to make the coincidence even crazier, they dropped this line.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. How bad is it, Secretary Van Houten?
Now, to be fair, Trump did actually run in 2000, which is probably where they got that reference from. But regardless, if Kamala wins and says those words while wearing a purple suit at that desk, I think the world would implode.
Right, here comes the implosion.
Implosion? But I thought you said...
If Kamala says those same words and does exactly what they did in The Simpsons, this whole thing is scripted, I swear to God.
Deadliest computer viruses in the world, Part 9. The WinXP Horror Edition virus. You're gonna remember this one while you sleep tonight. Malware that disguises itself as a Windows update. No further explanation needed. The best way to understand is to experience it. Right-click open, let's infect this bitch. The PC restarts and we hop right into stage 1, fake system update. Windows appears to be installing an update, but it's all a ploy. Looks like we're getting close, but it stops at 66%. And then, error message. Setup cannot copy the file ntdll.dll. Setup will use the file 666.sys. Okay, I guess. This initiates stage 2, Windows theme hijack. Our entire theme gets swapped to this red background creepy eye looking thing as the update continues. This ominous music begins to play with the message, "Don't look behind you." This time the update actually hits 100% and we're gonna... Oh, okay. First jump scare here with a static noise and a glitchy transition. The theme hijack continues with this skeleton boot loading screen until we get to my favorite part. The classic Windows XP start sound. Let me know if you're old enough to remember that, but with a nice horror sounding twist to it. We finally get to the desktop where the red theme goes on and the entire wallpaper's been replaced with skulls. Our entire PC is wiped except for my computer, this file named nothing, another one called don'topenme.txt, and recycle bin at the very bottom. And we're gonna be opening all of these to see where they take us. But first, it gets worse. Stage 3, screen flashes. We get these scary ass photos that continuously flash in the background. Oh, nice. The start menu icon says dead. Click it and our user profile is 666. And there we have more screen flashes, but let's have a bit of fun now. We'll start by... Oh, looks like my cursor turned into an eyeball here, but yeah, let's open up nothing and keep this virus going. Okay, so the music changed and oh, there's stage 4, horror animation. This unsettling flash animation era, creepy pasta cartoon takes over the whole screen and you're just kind of forced to watch it. I'm gonna fast forward it for you guys, but the animation is called The Sad Man by Jake Lava, that tells the story of this lonely masked creature that I guess befriends a little girl. It's low-key kind of giving Salad Fingers, a huge throwback if you remember Salad Fingers. That's some OG internet shit right there, and also you old as fuck. Anyway, the girl unmasks the creature to find out he's got a Duanussy on his face, and he eats her. Animation ends and we're back to desktop. The nothing file is all glitchy now. Honestly, that's a pretty cool looking effect. The animator did a great job with that. Screen flashes continue, but let's open the next file. Don'topenme.txt. Classic horror movie music plays with the message, "Congratulations, you opened me. Do you want to play a game? Okay, then look behind you." I don't know why I keep saying that. But we've entered stage 5, I guess. Game over. You think you're in the clear, and then another jump scare, I believe from a horror video game called Granny, followed by the text on screen, game over. Back to desktop, and this file is glitching now too, but let's open my computer. Surely that should work just fine, right? Nope, we get this message. Do you seriously want to trash your computer forever? Nice. Let's say no, I don't want to do that. Oh, well, that option just disappeared. Yes is our only choice now. I guess there's no escape with this one. Actually, let's just close the prompt and forget we ever opened it. Unfortunately, once you click it, nothing can stop the inevitable stage 6, computer meltdown. My computer just got tossed into the recycle bin, and now... yeah, okay, one more jump scare, sorry about that. Followed by what looks like a fake red screen of death message that just kind of repeats over and over again. Yup, this sure ain't looking good. Oh, and now finally, the official blue screen of death, and our computer is cooked. If you restart now, the virus's final payload overwrites the master boot record, MBR, meaning this entire PC is now essentially just an image of an eye, along with the message, "I'm watching you," and the virus creator's name. Happy Halloween, motherfuckers. Sleep tight tonight.
Honestly, if that ever happened to my computer, I'm just chucking the whole thing away. I don't want the computer anymore. The whole thing's just gone through the window.
Logan Paul, Mr. Beast, and KSI's new Lunchable dupe could actually be dangerous for your kids. Yes, I know everybody is freaking out about the Lunchie because it's like another form of ultra-processed food for kids. And to that I would say, it's literally just cheese, crackers, and deli meat. I've already talked about these a lot on my account. But what I feel like we are missing is an even bigger issue right under our noses. And that is the Prime electrolyte drink in the box. The Prime drink is advertised as a sugar-free drink with 400 milligrams of electrolytes. So you might be wondering, what's the harm? But when I looked at the nutrition facts, I was pretty shocked. Now, this package is for the 16.9 ounce bottle and the Lunchie has 12 ounces, but if we just do a little bit of math here for a 4 to 8 year old's needs, this drink provides 640 milligrams of vitamin A, which is damn close to the UL level of potential toxicity at 900 milligrams. Like, if a kid were to drink 2 of these a day, which really would not be that hard, they're at 1.5 times the upper limit. That is scary shit. And the rest of the vitamins, while not as dangerous of course, are still well beyond what a kid would actually need. Like 4 times their B6 needs and 3 times their B12 needs. Kids are not just like smaller adults. Their needs are different. And some supplements that we might say are okay for an adult would be dangerous for a child. So yeah, these guys maybe thought it was like a cute idea because yeah, us millennial parents all love a nostalgic throwback. But I have to guess there was absolutely no dietitian consultant on this team, and I would probably pull this before something terrible happens to someone's child. It's not good. Next.
Yeah, there's a lot of backlash with the Logan Paul and like KSI, Mr. Beast, Lunchly, like whole thing. There's a lot of backlash. It's like a whole rabbit hole that you can go down. It's actually crazy. I mean, in my opinion, I never really eat stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's too processed for me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not, but like, I feel like it is. So I don't eat stuff like that. But Logan Paul and Mr. Beast, they have a crazy allegations with this. So like, make sure you do your research on Lunchly before you buy it for your kids.
Thank you all for watching this here video.